Brilliance Audio presents Myths and Mortals by Charlie N. Holmberg, performed by Lauren Ezzo and Scott Merriman. In a room clouded with cigar smoke, Sandis stood between two men who had betrayed her. In front of her, her great-uncle. Behind her, Rone. If Rone was to be believed, her great-uncle had sold her to Kazen, her worst enemy. Then again, Rone had been the one to deliver her to the summoner. Sandis had been looking for her great-uncle for weeks. Talbur Gwynwig, her grandfather's brother, the only living family member she had left, even if he was a stranger. She had envisioned their reunion countless times and in countless ways, but never quite like this. The dim office with its aged wooden walls had no windows, nothing to air out the stench of the burning roll held between the stocky man's fingers. The only light came from two lamps, one on his simple desk, the other in the far corner. The light was a dehydrated sort of yellow. She could barely breathe, but that might have been due to Rone's presence behind her. Hugging herself, she took a step away from him and closer to Talbur. She saw a few traces of her father in his face, something that let her relax a fraction. His hair was thinning and receding from his forehead. He had a large nose and wide-set eyes, the same shade of brown as hers. She guessed him to be in his 60s. His words, "I was so hoping I'd get a chance to meet you," rang in her ears, colliding harshly with what Rone had told her just an hour before. If he'd truly sold her off, he wouldn't have expected to meet her. Right? She shifted her weight from one foot to the other. Her clothes, despite the rough wash she'd given them in a horse trough, were growing stiff around her. The blood would never wash away completely. But she didn't want to save the clothing. This uniform marked her as a vessel. It would expose the golden Noskin brands cascading down her back the moment she removed Rone's jacket. His jacket. She didn't want it. She didn't dare remove it.
Rone leaned against his bedroom door, staring at the flickering lamp near the window. He should go back out there, grab her shoulders and say, "Just tell me. Tell me what you did, anything." Sandis was her great-uncle's special pet, groomed just the way he wanted her. Talbur was incapable of doing anything wrong in her eyes, so what spat could have brought her to his door? Was this the first time this had happened? Or had Sandis been punished previous nights and chosen the streets over his company? But he would have known. God's tower, he'd watched that damn house so carefully he wasn't left with any time to check his drop-off sites. Not that it mattered. Without the amaranth, there was no Angel Verlad, thief for hire. Just a coward hiding in a basement, unsure what to do with his pathetic life. He pulled out the envelope from beneath his arm. He'd hurried home to read it, not wanting to do so at the crowded post office, only to run into Lena, the homeowner's daughter. She'd inquired after the length of his stay, and he'd answered indefinitely. He'd stay in this basement until Sandis came to her senses and left Talbur, and if that never happened, he would never leave. Or was that another lie he told himself? Rone sat in the chair to the small desk in his room, opened the top drawer and pushed aside the map he'd drawn from memory of Kazen's lair, though it was incomplete. He had to go back there eventually, and not just for his amaranth. But cowards weren't the most proactive people. He drew out his emigration papers. The date, though written in small writing, glared at him from the top left corner. He only had 11 days before he left Kaliningrad behind to join his mother. Only a week and a half before this invaluable treasure in his hands became nothing more than scratch paper. He folded the papers and stuffed them into the drawer, which he slammed shut. Leaning his elbows against the desk, Rone weaved his fingers through his hair. 11 days. Except he'd have to leave a few days before that to make it to the border in time. Did Sandis want him to leave? She didn't want him to stay. Once upon a time, she would have told him to follow his dreams, but that was before he'd shattered hers.